Okay, y'all. Next class is Virginia Bushcrafter with basic knife skills. More about the knife than how to use it. And introduce yourself. Tell yourself about your channel.
Okay.
And go from there.
All right. First of all, I want to say thank Vision for having me. It is great to actually see everyone and put a face to a name. The name of my channel is the Virginia Bushcrafter. And my motto is to learn and to practice bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills. And that's just not rhetoric. That's actually a very important statement. So now I remember once Vision was given a live and he was speaking with another content creator. And so we were asking questions through Vision to this other content creator. And one of the questions I asked him is, what is your most important tool if you had to go out into the bush and that you cherish the most? And this content creator said, my brain, which is great. But he said the second thing would be a knife because I can do anything with a knife. So I'm sure you all have heard of this content creator. His name is Angry Prepper. Angry Prepper. So today I'm going to talk about particularly a bushcraft knife because there are numerous knives, and I put things in writing because there's so much. I want to hit the high points. So you have hunting knives, knives with the gut hook, tactical knives, folding knives, which can be EDC knives, self-defense knives, large bushcraft knives, bowie knives, fighting knives, combat knives, and survival knives. But the knife I'm going to talk about today is a bushcraft knife, totally different. Bushcraft knife, survival knife, but with a bushcraft blade. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, the blade design. So a fixed blade with a full tang, and you want that for maximum strength and stability. You want something that when you put it into the wood, if you have to go left or right, you want something that's strong. So you want stability and something that is maximum strength that you can use for chopping. You can use this for chopping or even breaking, going into ice, or even digging if you need water. So now, these are things that are important to me. The tang of the knife from the beginning to the end. Now, a lot of times you'll hear knives that say they're full tang. They may be full tang, but there's also something called a partial tang. This knife is a partial tang because the blade only goes to here. And this is more or less a survival knife because it comes with a fishing kit. However, it's still I call it a bushcraft knife because of the edge, and I'm going to talk about that also. They also talk about a rat tail tang knife. Now, rat tail tang knife, again, not my thing, because even though it's good, but me personally, not my thing. Because a rat tang, just think of a rat tail. Just think of a rat tail. It's larger up here and it gets smaller, 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 and may stop right in here. However, it is still considered a full tang knife. The next one is called a through tang. So a through tang is a knife. The blade goes in and it may stop here. That's a through tang. One of my requirements when I buy a bushcraft knife, full tang, I want the blade going all the way through. On this knife, I can see the blade. It has to have a pommel. I want to crush acorns. even if I want to use it as a weapon. This one has a pommel. I no longer buy knives if they don't have a pommel. The knife chopper that I'm carrying now, it has a pommel. It has to have a pommel. So that's the beginning of the knife blade. Now, there's something called a straight back, which I don't have one with me, but a straight back is where the blade just go totally straight. And that is good. That's an all-around knife, but it's good for pressure. If you're slicing something, it's good for pressure. So that's a straight back. A drop point, this is what this knife is. It's a drop point. Because if you look, the knife is level and it starts to drop right here. Now, what is the purpose of a drop point? Again, good all-around knife, but here, it allows you to do this. You can pierce more so with this as well. The next one, a spear point. This is a spear point. Goes to a spear. Excellent for stabbing. Excellent for skinning animals. And it's good for drilling holes. If I want to make a bow drill, carve in and just around. So now another thing that's very important with a bushcraft knife, the thickness of the blade. 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch. That's very important, the thickness of the blade. Now again, this is even smaller. It's not a bushcraft knife, survival knife, but it has a bushcraft edge. So again, now this one has a sharp point, but this edge is a 90-degree spine, square, 90-degree spine. Why do I want a 90-degree spine? Because it's going to help me start fires. You can take this knife, put this evenly, and you just tilt it to an 85 degree. If 90 to 85, you got sparks. If you put this here, everyone said, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's flat, tilted, you're going to have sparks. That's with any carbon knife. Again, even, tilt, you got sparks. Now, the difference with these are carbon steel. These are carbon steel knives. These knives throw a spark very well. Whereas this is a steel knife. It's going to throw a spark, at least I hope so. But again, the same technique. So again, learning the skills, it's not the knife, it's your skills. So now, the next thing that is so important is the blade edge. I'm sure you've heard of this convex edge, this saber ground edge, this hollow ground edge, Scandinavian grind, are basically known as a Scandi. Now, the reason why it's called a Scandinavian grind, if you see this is from here to here is a flat grind, but there's a bevel change right here. There's a bevel change right here that goes to a 0-degree angle. So you have something that's coming down. Whereas you get, for example, if you have a hollow grind, it comes down, it goes in, it comes out. If you have a convex grind, it comes in, and the circles, think of something like a football. Now, convex grind is a very strong grind because you have more metal. But for example, this I just call a chopper. If you look at this, this is a saber grind, or may be known as a V grind, because you have a flat grind and it goes down, and at this end is called a micro edge. This is the cutting edge, micro edge. But Again, this is not a bushcraft. You can use it as that, but I'll get into that later. So another thing that's important with a bushcraft knife, and I gotta say, I've seen some beautiful knives here since I've been here. Where is he? That guy.
You can't have my toy, Steve.
It's not a toy. But anyway, and Sister Marie, where is she? She has it's called a Mora Garber. This is basically trying to get to the Mora Garber. Very good knife. But again, I'm talking about the blade length of a bushcraft knife. It is usually 4 to 6 inches. This one is 4. I believe this one is 5.5, and this one is 5. So why do you only want that length? Carving purposes, feather sticks, and I don't have any wood or anything, but feather sticks. You can make notches. There are different type of notches that you can make. A hanging pot. You can make something they call it a 7-notch. That's if you want to do trapping. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of notches. Vine stripper notch, saddle knot, V knot, the 7-knot, log cabin knot, pot hanger knot, latch knot, round point knot, round reduction. All of these are with a Scandinavian knife. Now, another thing, thank you. Thank you. Another thing is that one of the most important things is actually building a fire. And as long as you have the combustion, you got something to throw sparks on tinder, you can do what you have to do on this. A lot of people say, oh, I got to learn how to do feather sticks. Very difficult. With a Scandinavian knife, just lay it here, twist it, that's that. It's just, and as you do it, you rotate it each time. Now, usually you're going to lose some curls the first time, but you can always get curls of feather sticks with a Scandinavian knife. So now, let's talk about, and I hear they say chopping. Now, I can chop with this easy, but you can take a bushcraft knife, chop from here to here, here to here. You're actually making a V cut. That's what you're doing right there, V cut. Piercing, just going around and around. So, very, very, very important. Now, when it comes to the steel, there's a lot of steels. 1095 carbon steel, 1075 carbon steel, 440 steel. They're all good. They're all good steel. But I just like the 1095 carbon steel. This is something like a 3CR steel or something like that. So that's important. But the thing about carbon steel, it requires more maintenance. So with a carbon steel, you can be in the bush, and sometimes people abuse a knife. Like this knot, you don't want to split through it. But you may have seen some people just taking that, they're going to go through it. They're going to go through it. And their knife, the edge will roll. But you can put it back in place, but now you have a weaker section in your knife. So it will roll, but it can be corrected. With a steel knife, you can do that same thing, and it's going to chip. So when it chips, you're going to have to take a file and reprofile that knife. So that's something that's very important. So, and another thing is that when it comes to maintenance, when I get home every single time, even if I'm in my backyard practicing, warm water, I dry it off, and then I put some type of lubricant on it, because carbon steel will rust. So that's one thing, maintaining your equipment. And I will always, I call it This is actually a sharpener, but standing the edges back up. Because every time you use your knife, it's duller. It becomes duller with each strike. So I can just tighten this. Every time I do this with my knives, as soon as I come home, warm water, I'll stand the edges back up. And with a Scandinavian knife, it's just so easy. Here, you just close it. You see no shadow. That's all you do to keep that sharp. Because you want your knives sharp. Sharp knife is safe, dull knife is dangerous. And these knives, you want to be able to take it this hand, this hand, this hand, no pressure, just pull. That kind of torque, well, because the dampers here, but yeah. But also, another thing about knives being so sharp, you don't want them so sharp that they become brittle. So you'll find your mix in there. So now, let's talk about the ergonomics. Now, a knife has to feel good in your hand, right, Dan? That top felt good in my hand yesterday, bro. I just think, wow, 253 or 353. Anyway, the knife, it has to feel good in your hand. Now, you're looking for the contour here, and this portion right here is called the swell. So you want to make that just feel good right in there, secure, dry or wet. You don't want any slippage. And even with this knife, if I could improve this Condor Wayfinder, I would add jimping up here. But most bushcraft knives do not have jimping because you're not using for the same purpose as you're using a survival knife, defensive knife, something of that nature. And most of these come with some type of
Condo what?
Condo Wayfinder. This is the rubberized grip. Feels real good if you notice. The swell is not as large. Actually, when I bought this knife, it was really too small for me. But I learned to make the adjustment. So here, I'm good. Reverse grip, I'm good. Now, surprisingly, the most inexpensive knife that I bought, didn't know what I was buying. This feels better than all of them. If you look at the circular around here and with the rubber bands, this knife, $10, feels much better than the $42 knife. That was a couple years ago. Or the $65 knife. So the knife has to feel good in your hand. And even like I say, when you do the reverse grip, it has to feel good. You want to have anything help you to prevent slippage. Another thing that I'm a fan of, and I don't purchase a knife unless it has this, is a lanyard holder. Twist, it's here. I would think lock something, but this is secure. And sometimes you may see people do it just somewhat differently, where they're going in this direction, it's not going to fall off. But I'm a fan of just basically this. This is mine. So that's that. Now, the sheath, you want to keep your knife secure. I like this sheath because there's a clip. It's not coming out. This sheath, you can wear it on your right or left just by removing this clip. But I've also done some modifications to this. I've wrapped a ferrocerium rod. I have Gorilla Tape around the rod as a handle and Gorilla Tape here. That gives me tender. I'll start a fire anywhere there's dry wood or wet wood with this knife because I have tender. I have a good edge. I'll start a fire. This one, great sheath, great sheath. The drawback is leather. If it gets wet, what happens? My knife gets wet. Whereas this one has a drain hole. Water's gonna go out of it. This one, $10 knife, very secure, has a drain hole. So, and the thing is, if you notice, on the everything has a drawback. The clip, it can come loose, but you can put paracord around here, dangle it on your belt. Same thing with these. You can dangle it on your belt. Same thing, dangle it on your belt. So that's the sheath. Now, also, when it comes to what are you really going to use this knife for? What are you really going to use a 4 to 6 inch knife? So the thing I'm going to use with, again, to start a fire, make tinder, feather sticks, kindling, split wood, all of that good stuff. But to build a shelter, how are you going to build a shelter with this? Easily. When it comes to making notches, for example, a log cabin notch, you can rock this way, or you can take another, you can rock it this way, and basically you're going to use this, the closer part to the handle is called the strong part of the knife. The outer portion, the longer portion, is the weaker portion. So I'm going to use the strong portion to just start removing this. And use my thumb to just and I had another one, I do the same thing, but you make them so they lock in. That's a log cabin. So that's one thing for building a shelter. Also for just shaping wood. Want to make a spear? You're going to start with, when I first started, I'm making a spear. I'm just going around. But if you go this portion first, opposite side, next side, okay, not much of a spear yet, but you see these portions here. Just start to remove those. And so on until you get a spear. So basically it's used for chopping. Let's see. Now, and again, when I mean chopping is always against the grain. You're breaking the grain. That's chopping. Splitting, you're going with the grain. And you do that a lot with batoning. And let's see here. Of course, you can process food with this. Now, when it comes to processing food, I would prefer a stainless steel for processing food as opposed to a carbon steel. But if you're in the bush and this is all you have, this is what you use. So, that's basically the presentation. But this is what I'm going to say about knives. Again, Dan, I still like to have it. A knife can cost $400. A knife can cost $10. It's the knife, but it's not the knife. It's your skill level. So you can practice at home, in your backyard, but I'm going to tell you where I learn most. It's when I go out there by myself because you have no one else to help you. And then you learn your mistakes. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? But you learn just from going out in the bush on your own. So again, and the way to improve on using a knife is actually it's something called a tri-stick where you can make all the notches. So, I just tell everybody, yeah, I agree with Angry Pepper. Most important tool is going to be a knife. So I just tell you guys, get out in the bush and have some fun.
Yeah,
Any
I've
yeah.
got a question.
Sure.
So, I'm not a knife guy, but I have knives.
Uh-huh.
And I have a couple knives that are Damascus steel.
Oh, yeah.
So,
What's your address? I'll take them.
other than it looks pretty, the blade is.
Yeah. I'll tell you about Damascus. I don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
I understand that Damascus steel, and I think Dan probably know about this and correct me, that is wrapped more with more steel,
Yeah.
which make it as strong as steel. And I think that's where the value in knives come. It's the steel.
It has Damascus steel has 125 layers of steel.
Yeah.
Blending of different steels together.
Right.
Yeah. Because I went into a store once and I saw like a 5-inch knife. The guy had like $495. Like, no, this got to be a mistake. So I'll go up to him and say, I thought it was really supposed to be 49.50. Saying that, no, it's 495. What? This knife is like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, I later learned that it was the steel, Damascus steel. So again, I definitely agree with Angry Prepper that if I have to go into the bush. Oh, another thing about this knife, it has a bow drill. You can use this for making a bow drill. So, but yeah, these are just some great tools that once you can always improve with them all the time. So, but again, I just say the way to improve, yes. Sure.
Oh, I was wondering, I might have missed it, but you said something about was that 4-tang?
This one is a full tang.
Oh,
Full tang, yeah. And to me, a full tang, if you want to really convince me you're selling me a full tang, I have to see the blade all the way through.
Why do they call it a 4-tang?
Because it's one piece of metal.
All right.
And with one piece of metal, there are no joints. They're not going to worry about where it's like with a folding knife, you have joints that can, cut your finger. There's a YouTuber right now that has a big bandage because he used a knife and it closed in on. Now, this is kind of off the subject, but with a it's called a slide lock or whatever, I would only use this if I'm slicing away.
Yeah.
I'm never going to or this with this. And another thing about knives also, it is something called a blood zone or something like this. All from here, this direction to here, long as no one's with me. And when I'm carving, I'm never going to carve with my hand on my hip, too close in here. I'm going to put my elbow here because nothing's going to get cut. And the thing about it, you never want to be out in the bush and cut yourself. When you're out there, there's never a reason to rush for anything. Because even though the ground looks even, you don't want to twist your ankle and, you're injured there. And when you're not using your knife, it goes back to the safety zone.
So with the now you got a 4-tang knife.
Yeah, this is a full tang.
Right. So where can you purchase a Wu-Tang knife?
Wu-Tang.
That is nothing to mess with.
That's true. You don't even want to buy Wu-Tang.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Wu-Tang clan. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, let me check it. Yeah. Now, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I just purchased this exact same knife. Very inexpensive knife. Go on YouTube. Of course, you're gonna get some negative comments. But you know what? This knife would do everything that this knife would do. This knife. I can chop. I can make feather sticks. Now, you may not be able to do it as well, but you can. So I'm just a fan of guys saying. Now, I did notice when I did use this, I did buy because it has a full tang. And there's something called hot spots you will get sometime. Even with gloves, I got very, very minimum hot spots in here because the way this is shaped. But I will use this knife in a heartbeat. So again, so my motto is, it's not the knife, it's your skill level with the knife.
Tell me when you want me to pass it around. Yes, sir.
Charcloth.
So once we
Yeah.
have it.
Okay. Charcloth is another part of tinder. So, okay, so let me get my little.
New pieces.
Okay, again, as we know, 4 things that's in.
Class, it's in session.
Okay,
Please, thank you.
so this is real quick. This is about charcloth. But again, what's most important when you go into the bush? Shelter, water, food, and fire. So if you want a fire and you have tinder, let's say you don't have a ferrocerium rod, you can use steel and you can use flint, which you're going to basically throw sparks. But these sparks are not any good if they don't have tinder. You have to have something to throw the tinder on. So last night, the Prepared Irishman and we made some charcloth. Now, the way that you make charcloth, Altoid cans with some denim jeans, just cut them to make them fit, and you can put a hole in, there's a hole here to let the smoke escape, or you can use one that's totally closed as long as the smoke can escape.
And most of them will.
Yeah. Now, what you do with the chalk cloth, you take the chalk cloth, you put it on top of your flint, and as you strike, you're going to strike as a violin because you want sparks to fly up.
And it takes a little time to get the skill down. And look, you got it pretty quick. And see how that's staying there? If you use like flesh, like cotton and Vaseline, it's a sustained flame and it burns out really quick. This you can keep for a while. Keep it just like that. Get his bird's nest, put it in there, take his time, and just blow it into a flame.
Now,
And resave it again.
yeah, you can use that again. Now, a lot of doing this, there's even an easier way than putting it here, striking it, and going upward. You can actually
Very nice.
take this, put the chart, leave the chart cloth in here, and this time the sparks are going to go downward.
So just
Nice.
And the good thing about it, I'm going to let Jim explain this, that every time you use chalk cloth, you use the material. So you want to make sure that you're able to do it well, because like I said, when you start to use it, you're minus more, you're minus more, you're minus more. So I always carry in the bush, I always carry a ferrocerium rod, flint and steel, cotton balls and Vaseline, hand sanitizer. You can make fire with all of those things. But my preference is a ferrocerium rod or a charcloth. I'm only going to use matches or a lighter in a dire emergency situation if I don't have those 2 items. And I think that's one of the best ways. If you can just look, see how this charcloth, how it just catches.
And that's just denim.
That's just denim from jeans.
or,
You're going to talk how to make.
well, I'm just being his van.
Yeah,
But
yeah, again.
remember the 10 C's, the cotton bandana? Cut them up into strips. And that's multiple uses.
Okay, so this is, we cut these to make them fit into here, We take this, we close it, toss it in the fire for 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes.
Let the fire burn out.
Yeah. Then you don't want to open before that because you let gas escape, then it's no good. So at least 10 minutes or until it's warm enough that you can touch it and you can open it. And when you open it, you're going to have the chocolate. Now you can use denim jeans, you can anything that's cotton, t-shirt, bandana, but jeans work the best. Yeah, jeans work the best. So this is, this is a good tender.
You see that right there? See how you put a spark in it before? If you use cotton, yeah. So you have time.
When do you put the hole in?
So have you ever guys seen a bird's nest?
Prior to, yeah.
That's how
you can just
you blow it
simply
in, you take your
it's
time,
very
you get
easy
your
to take
materials, yep.
any knife.
And then you put it onto the rest of it and you build your fire, which she's going to do tonight. Today we're going to hand out all the stuff after his speech. Keep them. And when we make the campfire tonight, you guys can go in there, throw it in the campfire, keep an eye on it. When the fire dies down,
Yeah, you gotta let the fire die down.
we'll build it back up, I promise you. Then we can take them out and they'll go from the nice denim to the Charcloth. And the thing is, we bring this out, right? Once we get our first fire, we get something going. We always want to kind of make sure that we replenish it, like put it back there. I mean,
You agree. And,
you know,
and the thing
in a
is,
desperate situation, you can use your jeans and cut them down.
Right.
I mean, it's not ideal.
or your bandana.
You
And
should
the
see
thing,
the shorts that he had to do this.
there are at least 5 pieces in each one, but you only want to use one at a time. So when you burn this one,
See how it's still going?
you have a bandana and you feel necessary, just cut the bandana, put another piece in there, and you're
You
always
can put as many as you
supplied.
want. More's, in my opinion, more's better.
Yeah.
It's always good to
I
have
didn't
them.
know if it was put too much in there.
Yeah, so
No.
that's the Charcloth method there.
Any
You
questions?
know what? If you have a problem with that, when it cools down, take some out, throw it back into the fire.
Going back to the previous subject on knives, I want, this
Okay.
goes into the Charcloth as well. I was going to ask about